Hey y'all, welcome back to Nini's Texas Kitchen. Today we're going to make something not sweet. We're going to make a pork loin Wellington. So what you're going to need for this is a pork loin, and I'm going to show you in a minute. We have to sear that on all sides and then let it chill all the way down. The other thing that you're going to need is some puff pastry. So I'm going to make my own puff pastry, but most people just buy it, and you can find it in the refrigerated section of your grocery store close to like the pie crusts and things like that. But if you want to know how to make it, I will put a link in the description to one of my other videos where I made puff pastry showing you how to do it. So the first part, what we're going to do today is we're going to sear the pork Wellington, and then I'm going to wrap it in this aluminum foil and put it in the refrigerator. So I have already melted a couple of tablespoons of butter in my pan here, and now I'm just going to turn the heat back on, and I want to sear it really good on all sides. You're not trying to cook it all the way, you're just trying to get a nice brown sear all over it, so that it will hold in moisture and be moist whenever you bake it in the oven wrapped in your puff pastry. So I'm just going to lightly season it. You don't need a lot because there's so much flavor in the puff pastry that it just needs a little bit. So I'm just putting a little bit of garlic powder and some salt and pepper, and then it's going to be seared in the butter. And that's it. These come out so delicious. And they're not hard, especially if you buy your own puff pastry. I mean, it's really fast, but it tastes really good. People will think that you spent so much time cooking your fancy wrapped pork loin. You can make it with beef loin, and then it would be a beef Wellington. Those are really expensive, and we live in Texas in a small town area, so we don't have beef loin, tenderloin in the store in a strip like this. Here I would have to go to like Dallas or somewhere like that to find a grocery store that would carry that sort of thing. Our little small area, people don't buy that. So I just use pork, and we love the pork loin, and it's really, really good this way. So that's why we use this most of the time. And I'm just making sure all sides get coated, and I'll let it brown a little bit more. So we're going to finish searing this, and when it's done, we'll come back and show you how I wrap it up, and then we'll show you the pork loin baking procedure later. All right, y'all. I finished searing it on all sides, so the pink edges everywhere is gone. And I just have foil here, and I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to chill it in the refrigerator. You want it to be cold when you wrap it in your puff pastry and bake it, because if it's warm or hot when you lay it in your puff pastry, your butter will melt out of your pastry. Even if you make it at home or whether you buy it, it'll melt it out, and then it won't poof and be crispy like you want it to be. So it needs to be chilled. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. Ideally you need to chill it for at least 2 hours, but I'm going to have mine in there for several hours. It won't matter. A minimum of 2 hours you want it to chill. Overnight is fine too. So we'll be back later and show you the rest. All right, y'all. We are ready to prepare our pork loin Wellington now. So I have my puff pastry here, and I have cut it to the size that I need. So if you're using the store-bought one, once you let it thaw, take a sheet of it and cut it to the size that you'll need for your pork loin that you have. Now the next step is I'm going to take some of this ham mixture. You can use pate, but I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to spread it over the areas of my puff pastry where I'm going to set my pork loin, and that will help work as kind of a moisture barrier a little bit for the pork loin while it's baking. And my oven just finished preheating. I have preheated it to 375 degrees, and I will bake it at 375 for about 40 minutes or so, 35 to 40 minutes. Now the next step is I'm going to take some breadcrumbs, and I'm just going to sprinkle those over this part like so. Just a little bit more of a moisture barrier. and just spread them over. You don't want the bottom of your Wellington to get too soggy where your puff pastry won't stay on. Now I'm going to take this completely cold. It's been chilling all day since this morning, and I'm going to put it in the center of my puff pastry. I have egg wash here. It's just one egg that I've beaten, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to go along the edge with the egg wash like this all the way around. And the pork loin itself, they're not expensive cuts of meat, but they're really tender and they taste really good. So the next part is I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to take my ends and tuck them in like so, because I don't want it to pop out. And then I'm going to roll it again like so. I'm going to wrap my ends around like this. And now we're going to take this part and we're just going to press it down. It's going to be on the bottom when we get ready to bake it. Now I have my egg wash, and in a minute I'm going to egg wash it, but this has been sitting here for a few minutes while we were waiting to get everything ready. So I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator for about 15 or 20 minutes to allow the puff pastry to chill back down, because the secret is keeping that butter in the pastry cold so that it will not leak out when it heats up, and it'll puff your pastry up and make it nice and crispy. So once we're ready to egg wash it and stick it in the oven, we'll come back and show you that next step. All right, y'all. I've let it chill again so it's nice and firm and cool. So now I've got it on my large baking tray, and I put parchment in the bottom. That just makes cleanup a little easier once you're done with it. So now I'm just going to take my egg wash and I'm going to brush it across the top. You don't want to let it pool around the bottom, because then it'll stick. So just across the top, and it'll help it get a nice browned color, golden brown in the oven while it's baking. It'll look good. Okay. And that is it. So now we just stick it in the oven. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to set my timer for 35 minutes and check it. And if it is still looking like it needs to brown a little bit more, then I'll just do 5-minute increments until I feel like it's golden brown enough. So once it's done, we'll come back and show you and slice a piece. All right, y'all, it's done. It took about 45 minutes to get it to the nice golden brown color that I wanted. And as you can see, the puff pastry is flaking really, really nicely. So I'm just going to cut it in half and cut a little piece out to show you what it looks like. I also used a meat thermometer to check my pork loin in the middle to make sure it was done. And it is. And this is what it will look like. And it tastes even better than it looks because of all that flaky puff pastry that is in there. So, if you liked my video making homemade pork loin Wellington, please give me a thumbs up, share my video with others, leave me a comment down below. Please go back and watch some of my other videos, and I'm gonna put the link for the puff pastry video in the description. So I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time in Nene's Texas Kitchen.